They don't want you to know this, but there's a brain technique so powerful, it's been quietly buried for decades. Not because it's dangerous in a physical way, but because it can make introverts smarter than even the most gifted geniuses. If you're the type who thinks more than you speak, if you've ever felt underestimated because you're quiet, this is for you. This is not hype. It's a hidden mental system used by the greatest minds in history. And it works because your brain is wired differently. Forget loud confidence. This is about deep intelligence. And once you learn this banned brain hack, your quiet mind won't just keep up. It will surpass them all. You've been told a lie your entire life, that intelligence is something you either have or you don't, that some people are just gifted from birth, and the rest are meant to follow behind, forever catching up. Maybe you've even looked at someone who solves problems effortlessly, or speaks with impossible clarity and thought, I wish I had a brain like that. And almost immediately, a quiet voice inside whispers, but I was not born that smart. That's the trap. That's the programming. And it's completely false. They never taught you that intelligence is not a fixed trait. It's a system, a process, a way of using your brain that can be learned, trained, and upgraded. The people you think of as geniuses were not always brilliant. They just discovered how to think differently, how to use mental frameworks that the rest of the world was never taught. And here's the secret most people miss. Introverts are perfectly built for this kind of thinking. Not loud, not flashy, but deep, structured, focused. The kind of mind that, once trained correctly, does not just learn fast. It sees what others never even notice. And that's where your advantage begins. Let's be honest. School never really taught you how to think. It taught you how to memorize, repeat, obey, and fit in. Sit still, raise your hand, and follow the rules. That's not education. That's mental conditioning. For introverts especially, the classroom often felt like a place where your natural way of processing the world was misunderstood or ignored. You were not slow. You were silent. But the silence was mistaken for weakness. Traditional education was not built to nurture deep thinkers. It was built to create order, not brilliance. You were rewarded for compliance, not creativity. The kids who shouted the answers fastest got the praise, even when they did not understand the deeper meaning. Meanwhile, the quiet ones, the thinkers, the questioners, the observers, were overlooked. That kind of system trains your brain to play small. It makes you second-guess your ideas, doubt your instincts, and suppress your natural curiosity. It pushes introverts to adapt to extroverted standards, forcing you to learn in ways that don't fit how your mind works. But your mind was never broken. In fact, it's built for more depth, more focus, more imagination. You just never got the manual. And while most people were trained to memorize, you can learn how to simulate, how to see, and how to feel an idea in your mind until it becomes part of you. That's the real path to intelligence, and the system never showed it to you on purpose. But now, you're about to learn it for yourself. The brain hack you're about to learn is not new. It's ancient, powerful, and quietly used by some of the greatest minds in history. But it's been buried because it doesn't fit into the traditional way people are taught to think. It's called hypervisualization, and for introverts, it's a natural superpower waiting to be activated. Most people are taught to think in words, lists, and definitions. But geniuses, they think in images. Instead of reading about ideas, they experience them inside their minds like in high-definition movies. Einstein once imagined himself riding on a beam of light, not reading formulas, but feeling the movement of time. Tesla built entire machines in his head, tested them mentally, and watched them run before ever lifting a tool. This was not luck. It was an intentional mental simulation. Introverts already live in vivid inner worlds. Your ability to imagine, reflect, and daydream is not a distraction. It's the very doorway to advanced thinking. When you visualize an idea instead of memorizing it, you activate more of your brain, making the knowledge stick deeper and faster. This is how you begin to think like a genius, not by remembering facts, but by experiencing ideas as if they were real. One of the most powerful traits introverts possess is the ability to focus deeply. While the world praises loud multitaskers, true intelligence often comes from quiet, uninterrupted concentration, something introverts naturally excel at. You don't need noise, attention, or constant stimulation to feel engaged. In fact, your brain thrives in silence, where thoughts can stretch, unfold, and evolve without pressure. This state of deep mental immersion is where high-level thinking happens. It's where your mind stops skimming and starts seeing. You begin to notice patterns, make connections, and solve problems that others rush past. While most people get distracted within minutes, you have the power to drop into what some call a flow state, where time disappears and only the idea remains. You don't need hours of this. Even just 20 to 30 minutes a day of intentional, focused thinking can reshape how your brain works. It could be while journaling, studying, building something, or just sitting quietly and mentally exploring a single idea from every angle. The outside world may call it zoning out, but you know better. That's where real genius builds. Not in the noise, but in the quiet space where your focus sharpens and your mind finally breathes. If you've ever been told that you think too much, you're not alone. But what if that overthinking was actually untapped genius waiting to be directed? Introverted minds often run deeper, exploring thoughts from every angle. The key is not to silence that inner voice, it's to train it. Because when guided the right way, quiet minds don't just think more, they think better. True intelligence is not about knowing all the answers. It's about asking better questions. Introverts naturally reflect before reacting, observe before judging, and analyze before accepting. These are the raw ingredients of high-level problem solving. When you combine that depth with the power of visualization, curiosity becomes a superpower. Quiet thinkers can do something extraordinary. They can build layers of understanding. You might start with one idea, then unconsciously connect it to a story you read, a conversation you heard, or a random thought from weeks ago. That's not a coincidence. That's your mind doing complex, layered thinking, the kind that creates original insights others never see. You don't need to force this. You just need to trust it. Because when quiet minds are trained with intention, they don't just reflect the world, they reshape it. Genius is not built in a moment of inspiration. It's shaped by quiet, consistent habits. For introverts, the key is not doing more, it's doing more deeply. Your mind does not need constant stimulation. It needs structure, space, and silence to thrive. That's why a simple daily routine, built around how your brain naturally works, can completely rewire the way you think. Start your day with one intentional question. It does not have to be complicated. Something like, "What's one idea I have not explored yet?" is enough. This gentle nudge activates your mind without pressure. During the day, give yourself 20 minutes of quiet to go deep. Use this time to visualize an idea, replay a conversation in your head, or mentally walk through a problem you're trying to solve. Evenings are for reflection, not escape. Take a few minutes to write down any thoughts that surprised you, questions you could not answer, or insights that clicked. These moments might seem small, but they build something powerful: mental momentum. You don't need a complex system. You need a rhythm that fits your mind. And once your quiet habits become consistent, your intelligence does not just grow, it compounds. Day by day, thought by thought, you're building a genius mindset. In a world that rewards noise, speed, and surface-level opinions, being a deep thinker can sometimes feel like a disadvantage. When you see more than others, when you feel everything deeply and think things through completely, it's easy to become overwhelmed or even disconnected. But your sensitivity to the world isn't weakness, it's your greatest strength. The key is learning how to protect your mental energy while keeping your clarity intact. You don't have to match the volume of the world to succeed in it. In fact, your quiet strength allows you to notice what others miss. But to stay strong, you need boundaries, not just with people, but with information. Constant noise can cloud your thinking, draining the very power that makes you unique. Learning to observe without absorbing everything is a mental skill in itself. The world will always be loud, but you don't have to let it inside. Silence, solitude, and stillness are not things to avoid. They're tools to sharpen your mind. You were not meant to compete with the chaos. You were meant to rise above it, calmly, clearly, and with purpose. Because in the quiet, your real power begins to speak. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. In a world that often mistakes volume for value, your quiet nature is not a flaw, it's your hidden strength. This brain hack is not about turning you into someone else. It's not about chasing genius. It's about recognizing that the potential for extraordinary thinking has always been inside you. The world may not always recognize quiet power, but that does not matter. When your mind is trained, it becomes your loudest success, not through noise, but through clarity, depth, and results that speak for themselves. So here's your challenge. For the next 30 days, use just one method from this guide. Start small. Stay consistent. Watch how your thinking sharpens, your confidence grows, and your identity shifts. Because you don't need to be gifted to rise above the rest. You just need to activate what's already within.